it's time to well, bring on our next speaker, and this is pretty exciting. We were pretty excited when we heard that this gentleman was going to be one of our speakers tonight. Of course, Henry has had an incredible football career. He played with 4 CFL teams: Calgary Stampeders, Hamilton Tiger Cats, Ottawa Red Blacks, and of course the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He also played with 2 NFL teams, the Green Bay Packers and the Bears, and as well in NFL Europe with the Berlin Thunder. So there you go. He's been all over the world playing football, and the wonderful game that Randy was telling us about, and the special things that it brings to those individuals who get to play it on a professional level. He made his mark in the CFL he was a 3-time Grey Cup champion, 2-time Grey Cup MVP. He twice won the CFL's most outstanding player, and at the time of his retirement from football in 2017, Henry Burris held the CFL single game record for completions at 45, CFL single record for completions at 481. He ranked 3rd in all-time CFL regular season passing yardage and 3rd in all-time CFL completions. Now, if that wasn't enough, we're also members of the CTV family. Because for those of you who don't know, Henry is the co-host of Ottawa's version of CTV Morning Live. So he's on television. He has to get up bright and early in the morning crew here in Saskatoon. And I like to think CTV had a lot to do with his current position on television, because you may recall that back in the day when he was the quarterback of the Riders, he had a regular segment on CTV News called Hangin' with Hank. Remember that? Now, I phoned my colleagues at CTV Regina, CKCK, and I said, hey, can you send me some of those tapes? Well, we can't find them, Jeff. Henry, did you have something to do with this? Where are those tapes? He's like Nixon over here. The tapes are missing. Anyhow, we kid because we love. So, without further ado, here he is, Henry Burris, a.k.a. Smilin' Hank.
Now, come on now, come on. If you don't do it, I don't feel like I'm at home. I enjoy that much better than in 2013 in the Grey Cup. I can promise you that. Because, trust me, I have nightmares. I wake up in a sweat remembering the 2013 Grey Cup when the ball got snapped over my head. But it's good to be back home. I mean, I can attribute so much of what happened in my career when I played till I was 80 years old because of what happened here in Saskatchewan. Because, I mean, honestly, here, I consider this the place where I made so many great friends. I've met so many people that I consider family, and I brought my dog here, and I can still see him running 20 years later because that's how beautiful Saskatchewan is. But one of the things I still have to ask myself is, as I'm sitting here drinking Saskatchewan's golden tea tonight, original 16, how in the heck do you guys consider Pilsner the beer of the Riders? Like, come on, like, what is going on? But I won't get into that because we're here for a bigger cause. But one thing I have to say is that Saskatchewan means so much to me that each and every time I receive a call saying, hey, come home, I'm always on board. I'm always on board because so many things have happened in my life ever since I first played here, but so many things happened in my life that changed my life when I played here. Because I always tell people about the first time I came to Saskatchewan. I didn't drink before I came here. I did not drink. I did not drink. I grew up in the Bible Belt. So thank you, Canadians, for making me a drunk, first of all. I really appreciate that because I didn't know what tequila was. I didn't know what vodka was. And then they said there's this stuff called rye. I'm thinking, rye, that'll make you die, won't it, or something. But no, like rye was something that Canadians drink called whiskey. I'm thinking, whiskey, that sounds nasty. But after a couple of nights at Habanos and a couple other places in Regina, I was introduced to what these things were. So thank you, Canada. I really appreciate that. But, oh yeah, and as a morning show host also, we're talking about cannabis being legal here all across the country. So I appreciate that as well, because my mom, I just saw her this past weekend in Philly. She was like, okay, so you drank for the first time in Canada. You're not doing that smoking thing, are you either? I'm like, no, I'm leaving that to the Prime Minister. I'll just let him smoke and do his thing, okay? But me, keep my morals. But it's good to be back home, first and foremost, because I can attribute so many things to Saskatchewan, and whenever I'm doing, whether it's CTV Morning Live in Ottawa or I'm with TSN, I love talking about the Riders in so many good ways because, I mean, when I left here, it wasn't fun leaving. I mean, there was a period where I was in tears because I did not want to leave Saskatchewan.
what I had to do with this guy by the name of Roy Shivers. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I got the best deal for you, Hank.
But anyways, when I dealt with this guy named Roy Shivers, you know, I mean, he was a great guy. He gave me an opportunity to play the game that I love. And as a young man coming up, you put so much blood, sweat, and tears into what you do. You sacrifice leaving your family and friends at home to play this game. You go to a country and you're amongst people that you don't even know. But you take that chance because something in your heart is telling you that. And I always read in the Bible when I was growing up, I love you too, buddy. I always read in the Bible that whenever you feel something in your heart, you go for a reason. That's what my mom used to tell me. Because my mom, she was a church mother. My grandmothers, they were both church mothers. And they always told me, whenever you feel something in your heart, you go. You go because somebody's guiding you there for a reason. And I knew when I had a chance to come to Canada, of course, I was with a guy by the name of Wally Bono, who I called the Godfather. And, you know, he told me all the basics of what I need to know to be successful to play this game called football. But I still wanted that opportunity to play because playing behind a guy named Dave Dickinson, behind a guy named Jeff Garcia, I had a chance to play behind two of the greatest quarterbacks that ever suited up to playing football, period. But I still wanted my opportunity. And then along a guy named Danny Barrett, who coached me my rookie year in Calgary, when I had to do so many things, you know, whether it was carrying helmets for guys. I don't know if you remember a guy by the name of Anthony McClanahan who used to color his hair, and he came to me as a rookie and said, Hank, this is what I want you to do for me as a rookie. You see that truck over there? I don't want it anymore. I want you to take it and drive it off a cliff. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? He's like, that's up to you. And I'm like, what? Like, just tell me to get out. Like, you don't want me to die. He's like, I just want the insurance money. But these are the type of guys I had to deal with. My rookie year, he just wanted insurance money, so he told me to wreck his vehicle. But these are the guys I had to deal with. But I still wanted that opportunity to play because I love this game so much. And I know, what am I supposed to do? But then I got this call. Danny Barrett called me after he took the job, him and Roy here in Regina, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And of course, I remember the days of being on the sideline watching Jeff Garcia get hit by a guy named Mario Smith. That's free safety, and he came to the sideline, his nose was pointing that way, and he was walking that way. So I was like, man, these guys are Roughriders, they are hard-nosed. And then I remember the sand-based turf where if you slid like you were playing baseball, you lose half your leg because of how hard that turf was. But I was like, the Roughriders, let's go. And so I signed with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I drove out here, parked my U-Haul in front of Danny Barrett's house. I went out with Chris Zarko, with Dan Farthing, Gino Mikowski, Jeremy O'Day, all the great guys who taught me about this game. And this is the first time I went out to a place called Habanos. And so I'm like, Habanos, this should be a good time. And then I wake up at 1 p.m. the very next day. And I'm like, how in the world did I get here? But this was my introduction to Saskatchewan because for me, one of the things that I knew about when I came here, it was all about growth. It was all about growth. It was all about the people. And from where I grew up in Oklahoma, it was all about treating each other the way that you wanted to be treated. And that's pretty much dumbing down one of the scriptures that I always love in the Bible. Because when we grow up in this world today, as we see, we need much more of it. We need love. And one of the things I truly, truly honor and love about this province and the people of this province, because you see them everywhere you go. Even when I was playing for the Berlin Thunder, every home game, there was a Saskatchewan Roughrider flag flying in the stands. And I'm like, where did you guys come from? Over here, they found Pilsner in Berlin. It may not have said Pilsner. It probably said it in Deutsch, but they were there every single home game from Saskatchewan. But the one thing I loved about the people is that no matter where they went, no matter where you saw them, whether it was wearing a Speedo on a beach in Dominican Republic to Berlin, they were exactly who you thought they would be. They were good people, good hearts, down home people. And regardless of how successful they were, you would never know it. And that's the thing, because we as people, we make the money. Money does not make us. It does not change who we are, because as people, we would not be in these positions that we are in today if it wasn't for somebody who loved us, protected us, showed us the route of what to take in order to achieve that success. We cannot forget our foundations. And that's what I love about the Knights of Columbus, because I know one of the things that they base their integrity upon, and that's one of the other factors that when it comes to the Knights of Columbus, it's all about respect. I want to respect you how we all want to be respected. We all set the groundwork for each other. Because I know when I hear people, regardless of where you go, when they talk about the people of Saskatchewan, it's all about good-hearted people. People who respect and love one another.
Hi, Mary.
And I know when I came here and had a chance to play, I never wanted to leave. Because the experience of game days, when you're the home quarterback, it's much different than the experience when you're the opposing quarterback. Trust me, I found out the hard way. Because when people used to say Henry when I was a guy playing for the team, it was like, Henry, great job, or they would boo. But then I went to Calgary. And I'm going to give you a little tidbit of what happened behind the scenes on that. And some of you may have heard it, some of you may have not. But there were some not so good phone conversations with Roy Shivers, okay? And he wasn't the easiest guy to talk to. But I loved Roy because he gave me the opportunity. But I'll never forget one thing that he told me. And men, we all know when it comes to our better halves, our wives, our significant others, there's certain things that can and can't be said. And Roy crossed the line with me. And he said, we're going to hook your wife up with a job, and if her, you know what, A-double doesn't show up, you won't get paid. And I was like, click. And for me, it hurt because of where I really wanted to be compared to who was standing in that way. It really caused some friction in our household. Because as bad as I wanted to be here, I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, nobody can disrespect my family, what we work so hard for, who we sacrifice for, who we work our tails off tirelessly. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. We would do anything for, we would put our lives on the line for our families. But at the end of the day, we have to take care of our families, regardless of what it is. Putting your life on the line, it doesn't matter what it is. As men, we are soldiers. We have to be there for our families. We must man up. We need to spread that message more today. But in that moment, I had to man up for my family. And that's the reason why the move was made. But again, we still love one another. And every time we played each other, it was one of the most magnificent experiences I had ever been through. The fact of being in a place where they're yelling Henry and people are mad and saying everything, but after the game, those same people who said it, they had an original 16 ready for me to drink. And I was happy about that. And we sit there and laugh at each other, talk about how the game went, no matter who won or who lost, but we shared those great moments. But I can always honestly say, probably one of the toughest moments for me was when you guys won the Grey Cup in '07, because I wanted to be a part of that. Because that's the reason why I came here. Because I was a guy who grew up. My favorite movie was Dodgeball, the perfect underdog story. Because I wanted to be a part of something that nobody ever said could happen. Mission Impossible, 007. But I'm thankful, with the grace and the faith, I was able to stay on the path that I was shown and given the path to take. Where my family wanted to be, where friends and people who coached me, Steve Goldman, who used to coach a guy by the name of Ken Austin, and by Tommy Burris, guys who were excellent quarterbacks who played for the Riders, who went on to achieve and do other big things. They always told me, if you don't play in Regina, a place named Ottawa is a place that you want to make home. As soon as I got that first phone call from the guys in Ottawa, we went and visited. And the first few people that we met, they knew people that were our neighbors in Calgary, lived right across the street from us. And once that happened, I was like, you know what? This is the place that I have to be. But you know what? The friends of the people that lived across the street from us, their best friends were people that we knew from Saskatchewan. But everything always came back to Saskatchewan. And that was one of the beautiful things about it. And that's why each and every time I get a chance to come back here, I always talk about how wherever I've been, a lot of my foundation has to do with here. And that's why I call this my second home. Regardless of how many years I lived in Calgary, this is where I had my better connection. And I still want to say that when it comes to what's taking place here tonight, I am a father. I have 2 young boys, 12 and 9. And neither play football, just so you know. They both play hockey. And yeah, you Canadians are crazy when it comes to 12 and 9-year-olders that play hockey. You guys are crazy. I mean, you really are. Like my son just finished, he's 9 years old, and he had a 6 a.m. practice. And yeah, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. practice. Son, get up, you've had a great long week of school, now you got practice at 6 a.m. But the thing is, the parents, every parent expects their kid to be Gordie Howe, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby. How come you aren't doing this? How come you aren't doing that? I asked my father, I said, how come you didn't do it? Well, that's not the problem. I want my son, he can do it. But the thing is, yeah, you're crazy. But the thing is, we all are crazy. We love our kids. We will go through every link, just as with Sawyer. Hearing the story about Sawyer, we will go through every link to make sure our kids have the best life possible. But the thing I love about here is I grew up with this mantra, and in the black communities and back to Africa in our village days, there was a quote that said that it takes a community and a village to raise a child. But also it takes a village and a community to create perfection. When I look across this room, I've met people from every walks of life, from many different countries, from many different ethnicities, backgrounds, people who are accepted in certain areas and people who aren't accepted in certain areas. But the one common bond that we have together is that we have each other. And when it comes to the Knights of Columbus, the one thing I love is the fact since 1969, that was when everything was created, am I correct about that, 1969? That it wasn't all about Bryan Adams in the summer of '69. I don't know what you guys were doing then, but it was more than just that. It was all about creating a cause that was bigger than who we were. It's all about being bigger than who we are, because that's the premise of team. And I love when offensive lineman, now CFL commissioner, Randy Ambrosi, he was up here talking about the fact that his jersey is higher. I always make sure I put my old lineman and anybody on my team much higher than me, because I'm nothing without my team. And that's not about me just being a nice guy. That's all about respect. But it's also all about integrity. And when we talk about integrity, it's not what you show on the outside, because who you are inside will truly come out. Because we look for consistency. It's not about the one thing you do here and there. But I know since 1969, the Knights of Columbus have been an integral and visible part of this community, looking to find those who don't have the things that it takes, the foundations, the structure in their lives, the things that we had at home that helped us become the successful people that we are in life today. Because if we didn't have those people in our life today, none of us would be where we are right now. Because in life is more than just a journey in a marathon. Life is a relay. Because our parents had a baton in their hand. They handed that baton to us. They had humility. They had hospitality, but they also had compassion for the things that they loved to do in life. Because they found what your compassion was, and they made sure you had the proper resources in your life in order to pursue that compassion to make your dreams come true. Because of that, you created that compassion within yourself, the passion to go out and make it happen. And you found out along your journeys, if it wasn't for other people in your life, you wouldn't have the right to be able to experience the things that you're experiencing in your life. And that's where you learned about hospitality. And also the stewardship of what it would take for you to make those things come true. Use those resources, because if you didn't have those resources in your life, you wouldn't be where you are today. And the fact that you use those resources through stewardship within your heart, because you had that structure, you had that compassion, you had that love for others, because we need to continue to show that love for others, use that stewardship to shine on other people to help them make their dreams come true. And now it's time for you to hand that baton off to others. Because I know if it wasn't for me as a parent, listening to other parents talk about their stories and listening to their kids grow up and the things that they had to do in order to enable their kids to grow up and live the lives that they wanted to live. If you didn't use the resources that your parents and others had put out for you, where would you be today? And so I'm asking each and every one of you here tonight, before you leave here tonight, I'm going to give you guys a challenge tonight. And I know in Saskatchewan we love our challenges, because I know the Rough Riders, if you can catch Calgary, you can win the West, get a bye, get Zach Claros healthy, we can win the West final, go to the Grey Cup, and we can celebrate again. Not that challenge, though. That was in Saskatchewan. But to the province of Saskatchewan, we were blessed with two hands, one for hardworking and another to give back. I want to challenge each and every one of you tonight to go out and be a difference for somebody tonight. Because tonight, we are making a difference in so many people's hearts. And that's why I'm honored to be here tonight. But the mission just does not stop tonight. After tonight, I want you to go out and make a difference in somebody's heart, even if it's the janitor where you work, even if it's somebody each and every day that you see, that you say thank you. Just say thank you to somebody. Can you only imagine how far that can go? Can you imagine when you were in a position where you were just a young kid, asked to do something, and you did it? You felt the best about yourself. But nobody ever said thank you for doing that. Just imagine how you would feel. Take that extra second of your life. It doesn't mean a lot. But just saying thank you to somebody can go a long ways. And honestly, just remember the tough times that you've been through to get to where you are today. Those are the people that we're impacting here tonight, and their families. And remember, the people that you never said thank you to, they're still there in your lives. And they're still waiting. So I'm asking you, take that challenge upon yourself and make a difference in somebody's life tonight. Because I'm thankful for each and every one of you here tonight. Because if it wasn't for you, my dreams of being a professional quarterback would not have ever came true. Because I wasn't accepted into the NFL. Now, the guys that were my size, that bring the same stature of the game that I play, you see them all across the NFL. You see them all across the league doing their thing, and there's probably only 12 great quarterbacks out of 32 right now. And I kick myself every day because I look at the games, I'm just like, man, so many bad quarterbacks. But I'm still thankful because I was still able to live out my dream. Yes, I'm not making millions, but I don't care. Because all I know is, with so many European backgrounds here in this room, it's not about money. It's not about materials. You can't attach a U-Haul to a hearse. You can't do that. But one thing you can do is you can leave so many great memories, so much great structure to your kids, a great future to your kids. You can point them in the right direction, give them the proper roadmap. Don't leave them Fortnite. Don't leave them that. Trust me, I got a 12 and a 9-year-old. That's all they do is play Fortnite. But what you can do is leave them structure in life. Leave them a purpose. Leave them a cause. Because I can tell you, I didn't get a chance to experience my Saskatchewan on that stage in 2007 or in 2013 when I was on the other side of that. But in 2016, to have my wife and my 2 young boys on stage with me, and I turned to them and I said, kids, when you put everything into it, when you listen to mom, when you listen to mom and dad, these are the things that can happen for you. And always, throughout the entire journey, stay humble. So I want to thank each and every one of you for having myself. I love coming back home. And home, it comes full circle for me whenever I come back here to Saskatchewan. Because I see so many great people. I get a chance to sit down and enjoy talking about great stories, the times that we came together, we booed each other, we hate each other on the field, but we loved each other off of the field. But that's what life is all about. Because just as your next door neighbor, you wanted to beat the heck out of it. But when it came time for Thanksgiving, Christmas, you loved one another and enjoyed the great times. So I want to thank each and every one of you, and I want to ask you to challenge you continuously, to continue to change people's hearts, just as we are doing here tonight. And I want to thank each of the members of the Knights of Columbus to continue carrying the torch and pass on that next torch to the next generation and continue making the future bright for our kids so they can continue making Canada the best country on the face of the earth. Thank you so much.
Henry Burris, right there.